morning, everyone. We have head coach Dambach, captains Brittany, Basinger, and Elizabeth Ball. We'll start with an opening statement from coach.
Well, good morning, everyone. We are obviously off to a pretty good start after a 2-0 weekend. Really excited about the enthusiasm of the community, and they came out in droves on Friday night against BYU, and just an electric atmosphere. And we are really looking forward to this season. We've got one of the more challenging out-of-conference schedules than we've ever faced, and felt like it was the right year to do it with great leadership from these two, as well as a really strong senior class. So a lot to build off after this first weekend, and a lot of energy and excitement around the team right now.
Open up for questions.
Hey, Coach, what's the process been like integrating back in 5 players who were away with the national team last season to a team that returns 10 starters this year?
Well, I think that's why the off-season is so important. You know, you're figuring out your new team, you're finding opportunities for players to step up in leadership moments, and I would say that's where these two really emerged, was starting in last January. And I think certainly we brought those guys back in starting in January, and by March it was a thing of the past, and we had a better sense of what our 2017 team was going to be what was going to be about, and then you bring the freshmen in and you're off to the races. But I think obviously January and February there was a period of time where we had to adapt, but this team is resilient and ready to go, and we're excited about this year.
You mentioned the schedule and your non-conference schedule. What goes into the process of putting that together? How far in advance are you looking at what your roster is going to be, what the landscape of the country is going to be to put it together how you did?
I would guess that scheduling in every sport's a little bit different. We are able to dictate our out-of-conference schedule. We typically put a few matches in a few years out just to build the framework, and then as it gets closer and we can get a better look at what the makeup of our team, we start to add in some different pieces. I think it's a big priority on our opening night because it's the only match in town, or the only sport in town on our opening night, to bring in a big name on that Friday night. But we also love to bring in big names into Jeffrey Field and give the community an opportunity to see the highest level of women's soccer and great opponents. But for these guys, we want to test them in every environment. We want to challenge them in every way possible before we get into Big Ten play. And I think we've put together a very even schedule in terms of all different levels and all different challenges that we're going to face.
Obviously, getting off to a 2-0 start is important, but had you have a chance to watch the tape from this past weekend, and how would you rate the performance? Obviously, a win's nice, but looking back on it, how do you think you guys looked?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just looking back at the performance on this weekend, because obviously right now everything's about process, and we've been really focusing in with these guys about process. You go through preseason, fall sports go through preseason basically in the summer, and that's when we're not with them. So they've got to put the work in. They stay on campus. They work with our strength coach. And by the time we get them, we've got to try to put a couple different topics in before you kick off, and you don't have enough time to really get in everything you want. So with all that being said, I was really proud of their ability to apply not only the stuff we had worked on the field, but also from film, because you try to put in as many film sessions as you can as well, and just ask them to apply it as well as they can. And I would say overall, I was really impressed with their ability to take all of the information, try to apply it to these matches, and again, gave us a really good starting point for the season.
Coach, what makes Elizabeth and Brittany effective as captains?
Well, one of the things I like about these two is that they've got different skill sets, and they balance each other out really well. I think they're both big voices within our team in terms of their respect that they've garnered over the years, that their ability to show up every day and to be present and to demand more out of our team. And I think that's when our team selected these two, they wanted to be held accountable. They've asked to be held accountable, and these are the two I think that are most capable of holding themselves and their teammates accountable. And so far, I've been really impressed with what they've done.
You said Sunday you feel like you have 5 starters back on defense. How helpful is it to have so many players who have proven themselves back there?
Going into a season knowing that you can rely on your defense and your unit in the back line feels good. Going into a season with depth in your back line feels even better. And so kind of preparing this summer for different combinations, we were able to look at each of these opponents and see the different variety that we have within these different players and present different options. Our big topic within the team right now is how can we make ourselves bulletproof? And I think with a variety of skill sets within the players in the back line, as well as in the midfield and every line within our team, our ability to make ourselves bulletproof becomes that much stronger.
It was almost hard for me to believe, seeing that you've actually been here for 11 years already.
Join the club. Join the
It
club.
seems like it's flown by. Do you feel that way? And where have you seen the program advance, or where have you seen it gone to since you took over? And for you two, what does it mean to put on the blue and white, play for Penn State?
To play for Penn State is a complete dream for every young girl. Being able to put that jersey on every Friday and Sunday is something that I look forward to. This is my 5th year. It never gets old, and it's super special, but it's something that you can't really explain until it happens to you.
Yeah, going off what Brittany said, just every night that we get to put on our jerseys, I think we all have a sense of just how grateful we are, and we all recognize that feeling, and it's just incredible because, I mean, there's no better place to play soccer in the country, and we're just so lucky to be here and have such a great team and coaching staff supporting us.
I would say over our 11 years that Ann and I, because Ann Cook came in with me 11 years ago, we've seen a shift in a lot of different areas. Obviously, we took over a very successful program from Paul Wilkins and her staff, and when we initially got here, just tried to maintain that success. But then over time, we were able, through recruiting, to bring in the culture that we wanted to bring into this program, put in some pillars that we wanted to build off of in terms of attitude of a champion and blue collar and united family, and then make sure that we live those pillars. And I would think certainly the 2015 national championship, all of that came together in terms of the success of the program, but on top of that, the culture was where you would want it to be, and what I was probably most proud of with that championship season.
For Brittany and Elizabeth, what with Kaylee and Ellie coming back, what does that do for your defense specifically? And with that added defensive depth that you were talking about, going to see a little bit of striker out of you this year.
Yeah, going off what Coach said, it's awesome to have so much depth because, I mean, there's more time to sub and we have more time off of our feet. And so it's just awesome to have all the girls back and just really adding back to the dynamic of the team. And they came back seamlessly, and it's just awesome to have them back.
Just to kind of look at it from the opposite perspective, obviously we had the 5 players go play for the national team, but you also, in doing that, you have 5 players that maybe wouldn't have gotten as much playing time get to be an important role. What does that do for you guys this year from a depth perspective, and how does that affect your confidence knowing you're that much deeper now?
Yeah, when we talk about depth this year, we talk about depth not only in talent, but also experience. And I think that's so much of what last year provided for us. I think from an outsider's perspective, there's certainly plenty of questions that comes with last year's experience. For us, it was last year. It was a thing of the past, and I don't think we feel that as much internally within the program. But you look at the experience that players like Charlotte Williams and Alina Ortega-Jurado and what they're able to do this year because they got all of that extra playing time and opportunities. They've come into their own, and you almost question if that would have happened otherwise, if they wouldn't have had those minutes to build that confidence, and it's only made the 2017 team stronger.
Maybe off the field a little bit, the conference recently announcing the lineup of television games and commitment with BTN Plus and everything. With the network's kind of commitment to the level of exposure, especially for this program, what has that meant in terms of alumni, recruiting, bringing together the program?
It's hard to believe that BTN is celebrating 10 years. Yeah. It's fantastic. And I look at the effect that it's had on our program alone, and women's soccer has been overwhelmingly positive in terms of the feedback from the alums, from families, the fact that Rocky Rodriguez's family in Costa Rica could watch every match that she played because of broadcasting. And then just recruiting to give us more of a national and international name. Obviously, the foresight for the Big Ten Conference to understand that that was the direction things were going and to be ahead of the curve with all of it. You look back now and you realize what a genius move that was and what an impact it's had overall on our program to give these guys visibility and to give them the experience that they deserve in terms of, from a national perspective of these guys train just as hard as any other sport and any other program, and they deserve it.
Coach, what does it mean just to be a part of Penn State in terms of the athletic program, just looking at different teams and different coaches and how they run their programs, just looking at the level of competition each program has, what does that do to, I guess, advance or level up your program on a year-to-year basis?
I would say being a part of the Penn State Athletic Department has been even more than I expected in my wildest dreams. I think everybody knows that this was my dream job, and growing up in Philadelphia, and my parents are Penn State alums, and I think had they had the program back when I went to college a million years ago, I probably would have ended up as a Penn Stater. But to have the experience, especially in rec hall with Cale Sanderson and Russ Rose and volleyball, wrestling, to be able to have conversations with them, Bob Warming, our men's soccer coach, on a regular basis, and just the guidance and leadership of our administration right now, and Sandy Barber and Lynn Holleran, our direct supervisor. The direction is obvious, and their path in order to chase greatness is very obvious to everybody right now. I think we're very focused as an athletic department. And even more than that, it's a family. And I think that's what keeps so many of us here is we look around and we look at the quality of the coaches and we look at the camaraderie within the group and we look at this town and the community, and there's no better place to, for me, there's no better place to coach college soccer in the country.
Brittany, have you noticed any difference in the way you guys, the competition you faced or the way you were received by opponents when you went on the road versus the way it was maybe in your first season? After winning the title in 2015, did you notice any change?
Playing for Penn State, you always have a target on your back, no matter what year it is. Definitely after the national championship year, our name has been all over, obviously, for the talent that we've had coming in and continue to have come in. But the Big Ten's the Big Ten. That hasn't really changed from my freshman year to now.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.